Hey everyone, this is Car Ray Rob,
And I'm Ray.
and I'm Rob, and we want to welcome you to our podcast. Say hello to my little Phil.
Hey there, it'll be just a little while till Ray and Rob spit their spittle. Come on, check out of the hospital. So grab some of your best peanut brittle. This will be a darn good transmittal. And say hello to my little film.
Welcome everyone. We are back for episode 23 of Say Hello to My Little Film.
We are back. It's December.
It is December. I
The
can't even
weather
believe
is cold.
that.
Some places, not
Some
by
places,
us.
not here. Some places, but yes, it is. It is the holiday season, and sometimes it's hard to get into the holiday season when it is so not cold outside. But we wanted to celebrate this season and almost being the end of our first season
Yeah.
with all of you with my episode.
Yeah. Is your episode is there gonna be some holiday things in it?
Well, we had talked about it and we decided we weren't going to do full-on Christmas
No.
movies per se, but this one does have a bit of a Christmas element to it
Okay.
that I think still kind of keeps
Like Die Hardy, or not as much, or
kind
similar?
of, yeah.
Okay.
We'll go that route. Yeah, the Die Hard Chris holiday angle, Die Hard is a Christmas movie for all of you that are.
I'm not gonna
on the
debate you on
fence.
that.
Yeah, we're That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Keep walking. But yeah, so I have a special movie, a real gem, one of my favorites, one that I got to see in the theater, and I
Okay.
really cannot wait to show it to you.
Well, then I can't wait to hear about it. So, Rob, tell me, what do you got?
What do you got? What do you got?
Well, what I got is the 1978 Canadian thriller The Silent Partner.
I didn't know Canadians did anything thrilling.
I mean, they do a lot of things. They actually make a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows,
Very
surprisingly. You can think about The Great White North. The Great White North.
Sure.
But this film is a real winner.
I don't know anything about this film.
But that's great because I think that's a really great way to go into it. So it stars Elliot Gould and Christopher Plummer.
Okay, good
who-
start.
I love Elliot Gould. I
Yeah.
really, especially this era Elliot Gould. It's hard to get much better than this era Elliot Gould. He is just so amazing in everything he's in. And the other really great thing about this movie is it is penned by Curtis Hanson, who wrote and directed another favorite film of mine, which is L.A. Confidential.
Oh, yes.
So it kind of fits in with the whole crime thriller aspect of it.
Yeah, obviously that's a genre he must enjoy.
Exactly. So this film revolves around Miles Cullen. He's a bank teller at a little shopping mall, and he gets wind of the fact that somebody is going to rob his bank.
Okay.
And he decides, well, I want in on this. So when he figures out who is going to rob the bank, he decides, I want a piece of this. So he strikes a partnership, kind of forces a partnership onto this robber.
Well, that should make it a lot easier.
Right, you would think.
Doesn't seem
But
like the
you're gonna-
robber had a great plan if everybody knows he's going to do it.
Well, not everybody, just the right man.
Okay.
The silent partner.
Oh.
If you exactly. So it all kind of revolves around this plot to actually successfully rob this bank. And it's Elliot Gould and Christopher Plummer together are just amazing. Christopher Plummer plays this kind of chilling bank robber character so well. There's a shot of the movie with him that I won't give it away, but I hope you'll see it the
And
same
know
way
it right
I did.
away?
Know it
Yeah.
right away because it's just so good. This was a movie similar to Phantom of the Paradise, where the first time I actually ever saw this movie was in the theater.
And you were not born in 1978.
I was not born in 1978. Not long after, but not enough to see this. But no, I saw it at the Alamo Drafthouse in Austin, Texas, during my time there at a weird Wednesday. Again, a recommendation of a dear friend, and he is another big fan of this movie. He told me I had to see it in the theater, and he was not lying. So I can't wait to share this movie again. Recommendation of a recommendation
Yeah.
to you, because I think this would be this will be my last episode of the year.
Yes, it will.
And I needed to go out with a bang, and I think The Silent Partner is it.
Well, if you're really excited to see this movie again, then I know that I'm really excited to see it for the first time. And anyone in our audience, if you haven't seen The Silent Partner yet, then pause the podcast right now, go check it out, and see what Rob's so excited about. I'm going to go do the same thing. Me and Rob are going to go watch this movie. When we come back, you come back, and we'll talk about The Silent Partner.
Ray and Rob are currently watching the film. You may be also watching the film. If you're not, then you're listening to me say that Ray and Rob are watching the film. They'll be right back when they're done watching the film.
All right, we're back. We're back, everybody, from watching The Silent Partner.
That's going to be my role this half. I'm going to be very silent.
You're not
I'm
going to
be
say
the-
much.
No, I'm going to be the silent partner.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're the one probably should do the most talking, because you're the one who hasn't seen the movie before.
Fair.
Start. But let me start by apologizing, because I lied to you a little bit. I
Liar!
lied to you a little bit. I just fudged the
Plot.
the plot just a hair.
I
because-
fudged when I did One Cut of the Dead a little bit, so
Yeah,
I give you one fudge.
I just didn't want to give too much away.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, as I was telling you in the beginning, like I don't want to tell you about Miles getting out ahead of the robbing the bank on his
Yeah.
own. It gets kind of convoluted, and it felt like if I kept telling you, I'd have to tell you more. So I
Right.
just said, they struck up a partnership. So yeah, okay. I lied to you
Which
a little
they
bit.
did not
just-
do.
But I want it right. Not well. In a sense, it's weird.
Unwillingly,
maybe. But yeah. So I just again, I didn't want to give too much away, because I think there's a lot to this movie that again you kind of go in cold. I think it's kind of
I forgive.
It makes it a little bit better.
I'm
So-
quick to forgive. This is the season, so
Exactly.
Sure, yeah.
This is a
But
season
you're
of
lucky.
giving and forgiving. So,
yes. Now,
but let's dive in.
yeah,
let's
let's think
dive-
about it. Let's think about a question
Okay.
to direct the convo.
you got
We
one?
like to do those.
Okay. You got one?
Well, when I watch this movie, I kind of think about who's being battered to who.
Oh, sure. There's some role reversals in this
Yeah,
for sure. I
like-
think it's kind of the thing.
So, like, who's when I'm watching the movie, I can tell you I was thinking, who's the bad guy? Is it Miles or is it Christopher Plummer?
Oh, interesting. Okay, so maybe like by the end of the movie, who's the bad guy?
Yeah,
Similar, like maybe like what we did with Phantom of the Paradise,
yeah,
where
very
it's like
similar.
who's the real monster. Which, if you
Right.
have not watched that, listen to that episode. You should please go do that. But similar kind of thing. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I can get behind that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like who's the bad guy?
Who's
The,
the bad
the
guy?
bank, the criminals, or the upper class? Kind of.
Oh
there's a
man,
thing there,
now
but
we're getting real
but
deep.
we
We're
can
getting
be
real
more
deep
surface
here.
level.
We're
It's
getting real
is
deep.
it Miles or Reikle character?
Okay. Well, let's tackle all of it. We'll see
Yeah.
what tumbles out of this conversation with all that going in our minds.
I will say, first shot of the movie when we're in this mall and there's all these different Santas walking around.
Sure.
I'm like thinking to myself, I'm bringing my kid to this mall. Like, this really hurts the illusion a
Sure.
little bit. Like, if I have to explain why there's so many fake Santas
There's
walking around,
17 Santas walking
yeah,
around.
well, they're fake. So if I have to start explaining that these are fake, then I don't even need this experience.
I think the
anymore.
real question is, what is a mall? Do they still even exist?
I mean, I know what malls are, but were there ever like huge important banks in them?
Maybe if there
It's
were
a Canadian thing.
Maybe you know what? That's a Canadian thing. We're gonna go with that Canadian thing. But obviously, this movie's dated because they've got things like the carbon copy little
Right.
deposit slip thingies, which is good because it's obviously the big crux to the beginning of this movie.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there was one quick shot that was very distracting to me
Oh,
when I saw a man in the background who looked like John Candy.
oh well, that's because that was John Candy.
Yeah. And luckily, he came back in many more shots.
Yeah,
But I was like, wait, is that John Candy back
sure.
there?
I should have mentioned. Maybe I should have mentioned that in the intro. But again, I
Well,
wanted some stuff to be a surprise.
At first, I wasn't sure if he was going to be just an extra. I'm like, was he
Right.
an extra in this movie? Because this kind of panned around him real quick, and then obviously he's very much a background character, but-
Right? Yeah.
But he is in the movie quite a bit. But,
Definitely.
But after that, like you said, the carbon paper.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun little scene with Elliot Gould and Susannah York, and like he's kind of flirting with her. He shows how you can write on these things,
Yeah.
right? Excuse me, fun little messages and stuff.
Yeah.
And as he's doing that, that's when he discovers the main message of this is
Somebody
a gun,
wrote on it
right?
already. Yeah.
This is a gun, and you give me all your money.
Right. It's like somebody was going to use it to rob the bank and then
reconsidered for some reason, couldn't, maybe got thwarted somehow. But
Yeah.
he's kind of befuddled by it, if you will.
And he shows the note to Diane, Susan York's character, but she thinks it's a game. Like she thinks
Right.
he's joking, doesn't take him serious and stuff.
then-
And he has a very dry sense of humor. Like he doesn't
you
get
can
very
totally see that be
emotional.
a
So
joke. Yeah.
you can't really tell when he's like joking or serious or
Sure.
being weird. But he wasn't. And he starts to get this idea that somebody might want to rob the bank.
Right.
Which I will say I was a little slow in the uptake to this, what he was thinking. And I like that.
Sure.
I like that.
Which is
Like,
another reason why I didn't tell you.
yeah,
all of it
like
up front.
because he ends up like bringing a lunchbox to work,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why? And
Yeah.
then he ends up like putting some money in the lunchbox, and I'm like, why? Because his boss kind of said there's too much money on the floor, so I was thinking like, well, maybe he's trying to say like if the place got robbed, he'd be able to
Right.
save some of the money, and they wouldn't lose everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like he was trying to be the good guy
Yeah.
in that moment.
Yeah, he's trying to be a good guy, but then like.
No.
And then he sees Christopher Plummer's character, who he's quickly suspecting as a robber. Like he
Mhm.
doesn't do it the second time either. Like, and then Elliot Gould's character Miles starts giving money back out of the lunchbox. I was like, well, why is he? What? I'm totally confused on what he's doing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after the actual robbery of the bank,
Did you got what was going on?
I'm like, oh, he's stealing.
My God, Miles, what happened to you?
Again, I thought he was our protagonist, and he's robbing the bank.
He's robbing the bank.
So basically, when Christopher Plummer's character finds out, I was kind of figuring it out. I'm like, you dirty rat! You stole
dirty
from
rat.
both of us.
Yeah, no, I really do enjoy the first act. Obviously, this is like very much. It is a it has that Christmas element to it. So you love the idea of like Santa Claus robbing a bank. Like that's just kind of super fun in that way. And Christopher Plummer as Harry Reikle is just, I mean, he's so foreboding. But even in the Santa suit, when he's like,
like I'm not sitting on that guy's lap.
right, and like when he
the
gets
heck out of me.
when he gets in the like the tussle with the kid, who like kind of blows the second attempt to rob the bank.
The kid was being a brat though.
He was being. I'm not saying he's not.
And then mom's like, I guess that Santa doesn't like kids. I'm like, your kid's being a brat. He's like trying to rob Santa basically.
How are you raising your child, man?
It's not helping him.
Learn some parenting skills. But yeah, no, I think it gets you really in there really quickly, but you can kind of like see, how Elliot Gould plays the bit of the loser. Like Miles is like the bit of the loser. You know, like he clearly, he's in that opening scene flirting with Susannah York, Julie, and then his boss comes and like asks her to like take her to the hotel where he's gonna have sex with her, and like just keep her company until I get there. And it's like, okay.
Sure. Yeah, he kind of stumbles around and stuff.
It's very awkward. There's a bit of that through this movie where I even wrote down at one point, like, why is every man that works in this bank a creep? It's so weird.
Yeah, there's there's 4 men and all of them have some noticeable flaws.
Right. It's super weird, and it's very like, it's again, questionable sexual choices, if you will. But anyway, so yeah, it's, the bank ends up being robbed, or the Christopher Plummer finally follows through with it, but Elliot Gould gets in there ahead of him, shorts the robbery, and then pins the full amount.
Yeah, because Christopher Plummer was basically casing the joint and following this one guy had a huge deposit.
Right.
But basically, Elliot Gould put that big deposit in his lunchbox. So when he robbed the bank and got away, they thought he took all of the money when Elliot Gould really has most of the money.
$48,000, which is...
Are you robbing a bank for that much?
That is a fortune.
Oh, it's Canadian, though.
Oh, there you go. That's, well, okay. It was going to be a lot more because it was Canadian.
Yeah.
$1 million. Okay. But, no, it's funny. But, so they, after the... I thought it was kind of interesting, too, how especially in the immediate aftermath after the bank robbery. Like when they go to the police station, everything, they're looking at the mug shots, which Elliot Gould recognizes Christopher Plummer, and I'm like, how? He was dressed as Santa, but okay.
Those eyes,
The
Rob, those
well,
eyes.
and we'll get to that. We'll get to that because again, that scene I mentioned in the intro, we'll get to that. But you could tell the cop kind of. I kind of get the vibe the cop thinks something up.
Yeah, he
is
thinks
up with Elliot
like he's like,
Gould.
it's Christopher Plummer's character.
Yeah.
It's Reikle. Yeah, you know. It's
Well, not
Reikle.
even just that, but he thinks like Elliot Gould's up to something.
Yeah.
Because he's like, why didn't you pull the clip early? You know, like makes him like explain how it works and all that.
I agree, and I'm like, I get where the cops come from, but I also get like, if I had a gun to my face and I'm like having to like shove out this money and maybe I went left to right instead of right to left, I'm like, cut me some slack, dude. Like,
yeah,
like you're gonna throw me in jail for robbing a bank, even though I did.
right. Yeah, absolutely. So you get. I think the cop finally just kind of settles on that too, and he obviously just kind of lets it go. But I did think that was interesting. But obviously, Christopher Plummer, when he finds out that he's been saddled with the $48,000, and that is not what he has.
Right.
He kind of loses his temper and beats up a poor lady.
But just real quick, I'm sorry, but going back to like why Elliot Gould doesn't pin it on Christopher Plummer, like. I think it's kind of interesting because he did recognize him, but he says no, he's not in this lineup of these cards that he's looking at.
Right.
And it's kind of like, why didn't you say it was him? Like, but I think he's trying to make him. I'm doing you a solid, so don't come back and try to get the money.
Yeah, I think that's probably somewhat accurate. But I mean, they bring the guy in, and the guy's like, I didn't take all that money. I think the teller's up to something. Like maybe he could have turned him in. So that we were talking about how they're not really in a partnership. I do think there is a partnership, and I think that's kind of where that begins.
Well, they don't talk about it, so it would be more of a silent partnership.
Oh, well, I wonder if that they should have named the movie that. God, a silent
I get it
partner.
now.
Yes. So
I need movie titles to be specifically stated by one character in the movie for me to get it.
I am the silent partner, so I don't know who this guy is.
I actually think he might say that at some point on a phone call. I'm not sure.
Might. Yeah, but anyway, but I think that I think they absolutely do kind of enter into this partnership, and that's part of it. And I think you're right, is that it's like, okay, I'm not going to turn him in. Maybe he won't come back, but also I don't want him to turn me in either.
Right.
So we're in this together.
You got some money, I got a lot more, but
which goes to the question: who's the bad guy by the end of this movie? So yeah. But obviously Miles, as you do, becomes a bit of a celebrity after this robbery, and like everybody.
He looks so good on TV.
I mean, again, it's Elliot Gould, so But,
Elliot Gould is one of those characters, like for me, like when I see him in this movie, like I do not recognize, like I only know 50 and up, kind of fat Elliot Gould. Like seeing young Elliot Gould, and even kind of the same for Chris Plummer. I'm like, this is interesting. I've never seen these characters this young.
Yeah, no,
or these actors this young.
Yeah, and it is interesting sometimes when you kind of discover this. But as I've said, like this era of Elliot Gould is ripe with some amazing movies, and if this is your entrance into that, I mean, it's a great place to start. But there's so many great directions to go. California Split is a really great one. The Long Goodbye, which Robert Altman's The Long Goodbye, that's a must. So I recommend you going there after this, but not to get too far off the topic. But so like I said, he kind of becomes like this local celebrity, but within the bank, within the area, whatever. And then he but he has to stash the money,
right?
So safety deposit box. He brings the money back to the bank. Where else would you hide it?
What safer place to put money than in a bank, even if it was just robbed from there?
Right. I mean, that's what it's there for.
Yeah, he does that, and then we get to see Christopher Plummer's character Reikle doesn't come right after Miles, so we see the money gets stashed, and then like another weird request by Miles's boss is he then has to take Julie to his own house,
right, to the Christmas party
for a Christmas party. So he's bringing the lady he's having an affair with to his house, but he wants Miles to bring her so it doesn't look like that this girl that I'm having an affair with is here by herself. She's got a date. There's no way I'm having an affair with her. She's having a date.
that guy who works at this bank a creep. I'm going to say that so many times during this conversation.
Yeah. Well, also because there's also this new girl at the bank, that the hot new girl, and
Right.
the one
John
weird
Candy's with.
John Candy get with her, and then
And
the
you
other
understand
dude,
why.
the other dude is like, "You said you'd do anything once." Or,
Right.
I was like, "Wait, what?
What? What are you hinting at? And then later you find out because you find Elliot Gould finds them doing it in the bathroom upstairs, and you're like, oh, jeez. I mean, that's John Candy. You got John.
How could you
Candy.
cheat on John Candy?
What the heck? I mean, Uncle Buck. How could you cheat on Uncle Buck?
What the buck?
Seriously, what the buck? But yeah, so it's funny because again, everybody only wants to talk about the robbery. You know, the boss's wife wants to talk about the robbery. The guests want to talk about the robbery, and obviously it's an awkward situation because, as you know from the very first scene of this movie, he's into Julie.
Yes,
He's into Julie, and I think this is kind of you could even question, like, did he kind of do this for her as well as him?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And this is kind of where you feel like that kind of ramping up.
Yeah, because when they leave the Christmas party, but they go back to his house.
Right.
And they do have a good conversation where she's like, "What would you do if you stole all that money, which you didn't do, but if you did do, what would you do?"
I think she's in on it. You understand? Something's up. What's up?
But he's like, he says, "I'd like to, I'd lay low for a while.
Yeah.
I would then go far away and buy another chance, basically." And
Yeah.
I think, I think it's an interesting phrase.
Definitely.
Buy another chance, kind of lets you know like where he thinks about where he is in life.
Yeah.
What he, that he has maybe some regrets. He'd want to do things different, be different, maybe,
Yeah.
and and then him and Julie try to get a little intimate.
Right. But then the phone rings.
Phone
and it's Harry Reikle, and he is not happy
No,
that he does not have his money.
Yeah, he's basically, it's taken him this long to track Miles to find out basically where exactly he lives, what
Yeah.
his apartment is. Now he knows, and he's scary.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, we basically see
foreboding.
him almost kill a girl.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Before we see,
Yeah.
audience reveal, we see that. Yeah. Obviously, Miles hasn't seen that.
No,
but,
so we know.
But he just has that presence about him, just no matter what.
Yeah.
And obviously that causes him to kind of clam up, and you can like question in that moment, is it just because, oh crap, am I caught, or oh man, like I don't
Yeah.
want Julie to get wrapped up in this, like
Right.
so he kind of like pushes her away, which obviously is, she
doesn't know how to.
appreciate.
Yeah, she doesn't know how to take
appreciate.
it.
Yeah.
She feels rejected, and he doesn't
Yeah.
give her any reason not
Right.
to.
So, and it kind of goes to this idea of like, is he the bad guy? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the ripple effects of the robbery itself.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at Miles as a character, is this like that another layer of bad guy now that's on top of this? Because during the scene before the phone call, and this is a line that pops up a lot. Julie says to Miles, "I thought I knew you, but you've changed."
Right.
But she's kind of almost saying it in like a playful way, like the robbery, like changed you.
Yeah.
And it did, and I think that's something that gets explored a lot through the rest of this movie.
Well, even I think right before they try to start doing it, she's like, "I never thought I would do this with you." I'm like,
Oh man,
geez.
yeah.
I mean,
I
just
think I
slap
wrote
the
that
dude
down
in the
too.
face.
Yeah.
Like,
And it
you're a
goes to
nerd and a loser. But
Again, it goes to Elliot
Yeah.
Gould as the loser.
he
really
starts to
is.
find this self-confidence when
Right.
he pulls off this heist. But after he takes her home though, and like Miles calls again, or I'm sorry, Harry calls Miles again. But this time he like goes up the stairs and talks through the mail slot of the door.
This is the scene. That is the scene.
That
is
is freaky. Man.
That is the scene.
Like,
yes.
I'm getting some plywood and like boarding that thing up. Like
I'm telling you, it is. I remember watching that in the theater, and that scene, and that thing, that nail slot like flies open. You're just like, oh
my-
crap.
it's such a, because you're home. It's your home. It's like,
Yeah.
this is my intimate space, and there's no way you can get in. The door is locked. He's barricaded the door. But he just pops open that mail slot. He's peering into your safe space, and
Yeah.
you're like, I don't feel safe.
And it's a testament to the eyes of
Yes.
Christopher Plummer, because he was so expressive with his eyes and so foreboding with the eyes. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it was masterful.
Yeah.
Masterful.
And
in
when
that
he says,
regard.
I'm not going to come in, you're like, because I don't want to. I'm like,
right,
good, don't come in. Don't come in. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty cool.
I love you mentioned the phone call, like from the phone booth.
Yeah.
I love that device, if you will, because they use it a lot
Yeah.
in the
they do.
movie. Like, because when Harry returns to the apartment multiple times,
Yeah.
and I love that shot, from the window down and from the
ground up.
Ground up. Thank you. And obviously they use it almost as a gag later. When
they switch spots.
Yeah, and they switch spots. But it's super interesting because I think there's a lot of those visual devices in this movie that they use.
Yeah.
Sometimes multiple times, but
Well,
they're so effective.
It
Every
is,
one of
and
them is so
there's this
effective.
interesting way that it's framed too, because when Christopher Plummer is in the phone booth looking up, like he is just like he's standing tall. He's
Right.
he's strong and he's looking up and he's in control. And like when the way that angle is that window is tilted, you have to kind of like from Miles's perspective when he looks down, you kind of like have to like creep and like turn, and you look weak. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're basically like peeking, your head's tilted, and you're not in a strong position. So you kind of seem really vulnerable when you're looking down.
Definitely.
And I think it helps build Christopher Plummer's character up as even scary because you feel again so vulnerable, and he looks like he's in such a powerful stance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and obviously this movie in many ways is just a big like kind of cat and mouse game between
really
the two
is.
of them. So it's like they both kind of have the upper hand at different times.
Yeah.
But really a lot of it is this movie really is Miles getting one over on Harry,
Right.
which is that kind of going to our central question, but also just like, him as a character. I think that change of the loser that you see in the first,
Right.
scene of this movie and like where he does change, where, Julie mentioned, like, you have changed. And like I said, that is something that's said to him multiple times by different characters through the movie. And I think, it makes you like Miles. Obviously, it makes you root for him in many ways.
Yeah.
Because you want to see that character succeed.
Right. Yeah. And really it's kind of this back and forth between them. Like it kind of goes pretty quickly because, it's not soon after that Miles again, he goes to work, he comes home and he thinks that his apartment's been ransacked.
Yeah.
And then
Killed the fish.
Yeah. Killed the
his
fish, which
the
he
tropical
loves
fish thing is like one of those like
Nerd alert.
visual things that they do in this movie a
Yeah.
lot with his character.
But then I think where like the movie takes another step when Miles starts to outsmart him is like they, Harry calls Miles again. And he says, "I'm coming up to get my money or kill you," or whatever it is. And Harry's like, fine, come on up. Or Miles says, "Come on up." And then they basically do the switcheroo that kind of implied, where as Harry goes up, Miles goes down the back, and they but then he calls Harry.
It's so good, and he just says, "Go f- yourself." It's so good.
It is really good. And now because now Reikle's up there, and he's like, "Darn it!"
Yeah.
But then it's really cool though, because then when Reikle goes home, Miles follows him
tracks
home now.
him home, finds out where
And
he is.
Yeah, so it's like, and then this is where he gets one up on him because he's like, all right, once I know
Another
where you
time.
live,
Mm-hmm.
he like goes and steals a car.
Right.
Little nerdy Miles goes and steals a truck, parks it in front of Harry's house, and then calls the police on him.
Yeah.
Then IDs him in a lineup and gets him arrested and sent to jail.
Yep.
It's like brilliant.
Well, actually, doesn't ID him again. Remember, like, because they think
How do
they
they-
like so it is kind of interesting. So they bring him in, and then the cops
yeah.
like he thinks like this
Yeah.
guy's also does robberies, so
Right.
let's do a lineup again with the people
Yes.
from the bank. Let's see if they ID him. Well, Harry obviously,
Yeah.
Miles doesn't ID Harry again,
No.
but he did steal.
says-
but he's wanted for beating up that girl,
Right.
that you see earlier in the movie.
Yeah. That
So-
rape and attempted murder.
Right. So he
Yeah.
doesn't finger him for the robbery still.
Right.
But he ends up going down for the beating.
Yeah,
up of
he
that-
says, "I've
of
seen
that."
him before." He's
Right.
like, "You have
Yeah,
because
you
you
had
saw him in
some
that card
pitch.
lineup I gave you," and
Right.
stuff. It's like, "Oh yeah," so he's really playing dumb.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Miles is super smart in this
he's
movie
very
in that
smart.
regard. Like, again,
very
he kind of so many of his moves are, very masterful, very chess-like. Which there is a chessboard in this game, and
Yeah.
it kind of like it becomes a visual component at different times. I know, like the pawn specifically is used in multiple shots. And I
Yes.
think that's where it's almost like I'm not going to be the pawn anymore. I'm
Right.
so like that.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And obviously, that's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool, and you feel safe. But the cop does tell you like he's going to go to prison, but it's only attempted murder, so
Yeah.
like he's not going to go that long.
Right.
But Miles feels safe for a minute, and he's still in his lay low phase.
Yeah.
He's not worried about. He's not like trying to escape with the money or anything
No.
like that. He's in the lay low phase,
Yeah.
like he told Julie he would be.
Right.
And he does ask Julie out to dinner after this, getting rid of Miles again. Maybe there's some confidence is brewing, and
Right.
but she declines him. She's like, "I
Yeah.
don't get you. I don't know you."
Yeah.
you rejected me, and I'm going to return the favor right now.
Yeah, exactly. But
So he's still losing there.
he's losing there, and then his father passes.
Yep.
And this is where things get super interesting because this nurse shows up, claiming that she is, his father's nurse.
Yeah.
Or was until he passed, and wanted to show her respects. And Miles ends up kind of striking up a romantic relationship with her.
Well, she's
Elaine.
hot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I was not slow in the uptake for this character. I knew where she was coming from the whole time.
You fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
I would have been just like Miles. I know you're up to no good, but I am
Right.
using you anyway because this is cool. She's all in. Celine Lomez
Celine
is her name.
Lopez.
Playing Lopez. She was really great. This was the kind of era in movies where I think you just would bring in a hot chick actress just for a part,
Sure.
and not because this girl really has never done anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But she did a good job. She does a good job. Though.
Oh no, I think
what
she's
really
super good. Yeah, I think she's compelling. It's easy. I think you if you didn't see it coming from a mile away, I think you would be
right.
Completely. I could give you a pass for that because she is a very compelling character. She's very likable. Obviously, her story is so full of holes, and you can tell Miles knows that, which is like, oh, he told me that, and you're like, he told you?
He's catatonic.
He's catatonic. What are you talking about? So, you could tell that Miles kind of knew, but he was like, well, I'm getting
this
some
is interesting.
This is interesting, and I'm getting some booty, so I guess I really can't complain too much.
Yeah, she might kill me, but it might be worth it,
right? He brings her Elaine, the character, that's her name, Elaine, to the wedding. John Candy's getting married to the hot lady at the bank who was screwing around on him.
Yeah,
and there's this scene. You caught it, right?
Yes,
you know what I'm talking about. You caught it.
Yeah.
Whose baby is it?
Yeah,
I'm
like, this wedding seems rushed. Like these two are not been dating that long. Then it basically kind of found out maybe
wedding.
Yeah, it's a shotgun wedding. The girl's pregnant, and you got to think the only person I've seen her have sex with is the other dude from
who's
the bank.
also at the wedding.
Yeah, and Miles knows this. Miles is the only one in the world that does know this, and he could tell John Candy the truth, but he never even thinks about it.
Bad guy.
Bad guy.
Bad guy. I don't know, man.
Seems like he could be a bad guy.
Right. And then to our point from earlier, Elaine and Miles go for a walk on the beach, and then she says, "Maybe you've changed." Again, it's that line. You've changed.
Yeah. But is he changing too much? Right? Did he change from the nerdy guy to this confident dude to now this bad guy? You know, is he keep changing when he should have just stopped at one change?
Sure. But, to be fair, you kind of you can see. So in the next scene is when it all comes out. Elaine and Miles, they have a scene together. It all comes out. Miles knows what's going on. Who are you? What do you mean, who am I? Blah, blah, blah. I called the hospital. I know.
Ain't no nurse there. I named you.
And then, she obviously comes clean that she's, working with Harry or whatever. But it's it's such a playful scene for an admission,
Right.
And, when she said, you f***ed us both. And it was okay.
They do like each other. They actually, she's likes Miles.
And you find out, she does like Miles.
She's into him. And so she was, lying, but she wasn't lying about, her emotional investments.
No, right. I don't think so. Yeah, not at all. I think, obviously, as we find out, she does genuinely like Miles. And I think Miles, and this kind of maybe is a check in the not bad guy column, is it seems like he makes her want to not be a bad guy.
Right.
So,
it was working. Whatever they had between them was working for both of them.
Definitely, because she goes to visit Harry. And
scene creeped me out.
Right? Just because of him? Or?
Yeah, I think because of him, because he's he sees through her her omissions of truth.
Sure.
And you're like, this guy, I've seen this guy kill a girl before.
Right?
He will kill you. And she's very brave, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
she lies to him nobody's like you,
He's you're holding back. Just the way he was playful with her, but very threatening, because he was you're not telling me something. And she's like, what would I not be telling you? He's like, I don't know. He's got this little grin. He's like, I don't know, but it's something. There's something there. And I was like, shit, he knows.
Yeah, Christopher Plummer's facial expressions in this movie are just off the charts.
He's good, man.
He is
I only know him as Grandpa, and he's really good in this. He's really good in this.
But their partnership, Elaine and Miles' partnership, becomes handy because he loses the key to the safety deposit box.
Kind of. It's not his fault.
I guess
his maid throws it out.
Throws it out. Well, who keeps it in a jelly jar? Like
somebody who doesn't want to get found, and it was successfully not found.
But what if it gets eaten? You know, you're up in the middle of the night. You're
That's
like,
true.
oh man, I'm gonna make some toast. What
Peanut
am I gonna
butter
put
and key.
This jelly right here? I'm just gonna slather it on, and then all of a sudden it's jelly key toast.
And you don't choke on it. You down it.
Yeah.
Push through. Yeah. Well,
anyway,
it got
that
thrown out.
happens.
The
It
jelly
got
had
thrown
expired,
out.
and
But he
and-
needs somebody to get the safety deposit box open. So
Right.
he enlists Elaine
Yeah.
to kind of pretend that she is the fake identity that this box is under, so that she can come in and they can get the locksmith.
yeah.
Call a locksmith.
Yeah, which this is the perfect ticking bomb scene of the movie. There's so many ticking bombs because everybody met her at the wedding
Right.
except the manager
Yeah.
who didn't go to the wedding. So everybody knows what she looks like, so she could be spotted at any time.
Yep.
And they're having to pull this off in Diane's lunch break because she is the person that should be doing this.
Yeah.
And so they do it during the lunch break so that she's gone and that Miles can do it and all this stuff. And, literally you have an hour to get this done. And,
Yeah.
it's perfect ticking bomb. It adds
Absolutely.
the
You're watching the clock and everything, and then the locksmith shows up and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was running late." And
Of course you are.
And, so yeah, I mean it's really good. And then there's even that little interaction where she's almost like trying to take the money out of the
That was
box. And he's
great.
like, "You're gonna put the money back in your you're gonna put your valuables back in your box, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna put your valuables back in your box."
Yeah. It's kind of like Bound.
Oh,
where
you
there's-
are gonna put your valuables back in your box.
It's kind of like that. It's like a mini Bound. Like when we talk about Bound, it was all about the trust of these two like newfound lovers. Like how
Right.
much do they trust each other?
Definitely.
That was being tested right there because she was
Definitely.
going to take the money. He's like, put it back.
I didn't even think that. I just like the two movies in a row that I did that kind of
Yeah.
have this kind of interesting threads. That's so weird. I didn't even subconsciously did that.
Perfect. It works. Ties right into the other.
But it works. Speaking of
Yeah.
it works, it works. They get
Yeah.
their money, obviously.
He does have
gets
to-
the key open.
He does have to like distract
Open.
Diane at the last second by kissing her as
Right.
Elaine exits. And again, like Diane's like, this is really cool. He's like, yeah, never mind. I got to go. And it's like, again, she's basically just rejecting her after kissing her. I'm like,
can I call you later? Nah, I'm busy.
I'm good.
I'm good. Maybe another night. Can we maybe next week sometime?
Yeah. I kind of like the other girl now.
Right.
I
mean,
kissed you, but
don't
I
get me
still like
wrong.
the other girl.
To be conflicted would be understandable.
Yeah.
But but then they go out to
Eat.
Elaine and Miles go out to dinner,
Yeah.
kind of celebrate. And this is a great scene for them too, because I think it's really where, she intimates what we just kind of said earlier about like, I want to be a better person. Like I want you to trust me. I want to, I want to be better. And, he, to show trust, gives her the key to the safety deposit box.
Right. It's only half the keys because they still need his bank key.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
but I mean,
but yeah.
that'd be anybody. You know what
Right.
I mean? So
It's a big gesture.
right. Yeah, no, it really is. But then you find out Harry's out and he corners Elaine
At the restaurant.
and they ended up ditching Miles to go back to his apartment to look for the money because he's convinced that the money is there. And man, does this scene not go well for Elaine, but she is a badass.
She is
during
a
this scene.
badass. 'cause
Up
she's
until
not
the
taking his
end.
crap.
Up until he cuts her head off with a fish tank, which is just
Horrible.
horrible. But I mean, damn, does she?
I know, she
she's not
gives a-
going down without a fight.
Yeah, you kind of, you like Elaine at this point. I don't know if I'm rooting for her to end up with Miles. I think I was
For
you
a
know?
second, I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah,
I
and
wouldn't
then-
blame you.
And then like she puts up, and she's just so like, I'm not with you anymore, Harry. I don't like you. And
Yeah.
she tells him the truth. Like I've known where the money is the whole time. It's
Right.
not here. Like basically, go screw yourself.
Yeah.
And then he's like, nah, I'm gonna beat the heck out of you now, and he does. And then you're like, all right, so she's just gonna get beat up, and that'll be that. And then no, that's not even anywhere near that. Then he's trying to drown her in the fish tank,
Right.
and that didn't work. You're like, okay, so she's gonna get out of this one. And then no, he breaks the glass and then cuts her head off.
Yeah. I mean, that
Escalated quickly.
escalated quickly, and it's even worse when Miles comes home to find her head in a fish tank.
And the fish aren't gonna swim well in that type of
No, I don't
environment.
think they're ready to move.
No.
But so yeah, he has to, and now he has to dump her body because he got a body in his apartment with a head missing.
Yeah.
He's got the head and the body, but he's got to get rid of them both. But he has he has an ingenious way to do it.
Kind of.
Kind of. Well, you don't think so? Putting in the concrete foundation of a
The
new
concrete
building?
foundation was good, though. Like the little scene of him like
With the
wrapping her
rug.
up in carpet, and then like
the mailman.
that scene seemed a little extra to me. But like
What if
the
you-
mailman at the middle of the night, the mailman comes. I'm like, what mailman is working at the?
It's early morning, and it's a
Maybe.
paper boy. Paper
Yes,
boy
I
comes
guess so.
early.
And then his way around it is like he drops the rug. And then jumps over the banister and hangs on for dear life. Like
so, all the guy
3
sees
stories
is the
up.
rug. Like, who left their rug here?
I mean, I think if he just was like just stood in the corner and pretend he was smoking, he would have been fine. But whatever.
this
Hurts
was
his
more.
knee
This
as
is
he
more
falls.
interesting, right? When he hurt his knee, so that then he did that. But yeah, so he gets rid of the body, and but Harry finds him, at the site.
Watches him basically
and,
do it.
Yeah, watches him do it, and is very has a lot of admiration for Miles at this point. You can kind of tell, like,
Yeah,
he's
we're
like,
a great team.
right. It's like we're
I
great.
kill him, you bury him.
Right, but and obviously this is kind of where Miles loses it because it's not a game anymore. Like
No.
and he just really loses it on Harry. But Harry, there's a great line. You had mentioned that Elaine said it, but she actually didn't. I don't think this is where the first time where it happens, where like Harry asks Miles, like, she knew where the money was the whole time, and Miles goes, "Yes, I even gave her the key to the safety
Yeah, I
deposit
guess
box."
you're right.
And you can see the look on Harry's face in that moment, like
Yeah.
Miles is taking everything from him.
Yeah.
which
Yeah, I think
is
what Elaine
so
confessed was that they had
interesting.
made love.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff she threw in
Yeah.
his face. Yeah, you're right.
But
Yeah.
it's so amazing for Miles's character at that point.
It is because Miles is. It's like now Miles is brave. Like he did a lot of things behind Harry's back,
Yeah,
and like he tricked Harry, but this is something he did face to face. Like he
Yeah.
stood up to him, and he's
Mhm.
and he says, "I'll give you the money. We're gonna split in half, and then we're done."
Right.
Like he's setting the terms now.
yeah. So
Which I'm scared of Harry, so I don't know if I would have done that.
you're
But
just giving him
Miles-
the whole thing. You were just giving him everything.
whatever, man. Like I'll.
Just don't look at me through the mail slot again.
It's like $50,000. It's not
Just
that.
don't look at me
Yeah.
through the mail slot again.
Just
please.
take it, but-
it's true. Here's your $48,000.
Yeah,
You're
don't
fine.
care.
Don't spend it all in one place. But
Yeah.
but they make the deal for Harry to pick up the money at the bank,
Right.
and you don't really know like how it's gonna work, but you just know he's supposed to come and like pick
Get
up and get it.
Yeah.
And there's a scene before Harry shows up that's just so funny to me, and it's where Miles is in the vault area with his boss.
Yeah. The creepy manager.
The creepy
guy.
manager guy, and he's just
Getting heckled.
he's getting heckled, but it's just the way the guy says he's like, your attitude towards banking, and like,
My God, sir.
there's nothing more important than banking. Like, it's just the way he says it's so
Yeah.
weird,
Yeah.
like to be berated by this guy saying it's
Yeah.
like, it's almost like it feels oddly generic but hilarious all at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what bankers
I
get
don't
paid,
know.
but probably not enough to deserve this. Like, you don't respect the profession enough. It'd be like your
Banking.
McDonald's manager. Not to insult banking or McDonald's, but like it's like your. It's not like it. I don't know. It just felt like it would be like your McDonald's manager, like saying McDonald's is the most serving people food is the most important thing in the
Right.
world. It's
Right.
like, well, I mean, maybe
It's food, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, food is
You're feeding
important, but,
people,
you know,
I
it's-
suppose.
I guess any restaurant really. It's just like you're taking this a little serious.
Right.
I mean, and he's wearing a suit, and maybe he didn't shave that day, but I'm like, he
Yeah.
doesn't look horrible.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was
He's
really,
limping
his
'cause he's
appearance
injured.
was right. He was giving a lot of crap about his appearance,
Yeah.
obviously. is
I'm
where it
like,
was
he's
coming from,
wearing a
but-
suit. He just didn't shave this
Yeah.
morning, and he's got a limp. Give
Yeah.
a man a break.
But this is the last straw
Yeah.
because he's like, he goes to Julie
Well,
and
also
is
this,
like,
and this
"You wanna
also
leave
gives
with me?"
Julie time to kind of like, does she look in his briefcase, which
right,
has the
yeah,
money
they
in
kind
it?
Of, they kind of, yeah,
'Cause-
she does kind of
Yeah.
look at that. So yeah, but it does, he does ask her if she wants to leave with him.
Yeah.
Like this
He's
is
like, "I'm
kind
outta
of that
here.
big thing, like the big
I'm
final
quitting."
ovation. Like, do you want to get out of here? Like, this has been real dumb. I've been real dumb. Let's
Yeah.
get out of here.
Yeah.
And she seems super into it.
And we'll talk about. Let's finish them before I talk about their relationship.
Okay, that's
But-
fair enough. Fair enough. So
Because
obviously,
down the escalator comes
Harry in drag, and man, he would have been the fourth member of Tu Wong Fu.
Yeah.
Because man, so
Pulled
good.
it off.
Pulled
Yeah.
it off.
I mean, he looks like a
Christopher Plummer in
woman.
drag was great.
Natural.
and it was just the way God made you.
Yeah.
But it's so yeah, no, it was really a surprise kind of scene where he comes
Yeah.
dressed in drag, but obviously like
But yeah,
he has to get he doesn't want to be recognized,
Right.
so this is how he's gonna do it, and so he goes up to the counter.
yeah.
And
He's early.
He's
not,
early,
supposed to
right?
be later.
He's kind of. I think that's him kind of trying to take control of the
Yeah.
situation back. Kind of been like, no, I'm not playing your game anymore. I'm playing mine.
Right.
And but obviously Miles turns the tables on and pulls the clip, alerts the guard.
Well,
who-
yeah, I think some of the subtlety though is we all know too as an audience that the money is in the briefcase.
right,
But when he gives Harry the money, he's giving him like this like sack.
right.
And I'm like, there's
That's
no
not the money,
in
right.
there. And then I can't remember like what else he says. Like he says, "Give me all of it," or "Give me more," or something. And
yeah,
and then that's when he, like you said, he
yeah.
pulls the clip again and
right.
starts the alarm again. And
right.
and he's turned this into a robbery, which it is kind of.
Right.
but-
Finally, it's a robbery. We're finally getting another robbery, everybody.
right.
And so the guard shoots Harry
On site.
on sight, and then
Well, Harry did pull a gun, so yeah.
That's fair enough. And then Harry learns the hard way that running in heels is.
Well,
difficult.
let's not skip that. Harry does shoot Miles.
That's true. Harry does shoot
Miles in the shoulder.
Terrible shot.
Which is
Harry,
also
you're
why
alive, and you're a horrible shot.
Is that where this came from originally? Is that where that quote came from? That's why the security guard shot him. And so
right.
they,
Fair enough.
and
fair
then tries running away, and there's gunfire, and I don't know if anybody else got hurt, but like
No, I
the
don't think
mall's
so.
all just like in a panic,
Right.
and
The running up the escalator, just the sound, like it
Yeah.
was just so masterful. It was just like click, click,
yeah.
click.
It's like that's hard to do when you're healthy. Much
Right.
less bleeding to death.
in heels, nonetheless.
And heal.
So yeah, obviously he doesn't make it. It's
He dies.
He dies.
But I kind
Dead.
of feel like, but he did ask for it a little bit because when he was getting the money, he's also like, the deal was supposed to be you're getting half, I got half, and we're never going to see each other again. And after he gets his half or whatever,
yeah.
he was like, I'll be seeing you. I
Right.
was like, no, that's not the deal. We're supposed to be bygones, be bygones.
Right,
So,
but he knew it was never going to go away. That's not how that works. It
No.
never is with the blackmailer. It always comes back for more. But you got to love it too, because when he's dead, dying, not dead, at the bottom of the escalator, and the guard
Yeah.
comes up, and you can tell like he's trying to tell him
he's
something.
trying to get
It's
Miles
like,
in trouble.
I'm gonna die with my last dying breath. I'm gonna turn this guy in finally. He gave me the bank's money. What the hell did you expect him to give you?
His own personal money? Yeah.
Like it was so good.
That
It
was really good.
When you're like, this was your last dying breath, and that's the best you could come up with.
I felt like in his head, he's like, he gave me the bank's money. And he's like, I got it out, thank God. And the dude's like, what did you expect? What he's gonna give you his personal money? And your dying thought would be like, oy vey.
Oh shh. And it's
That
done. You're
was
dead.
a waste.
Oh man, but
Yeah.
yeah, and then obviously they cart Miles out. Now there's a funny scene, and this goes back to me seeing this in the theater. Great theater experience. But when they wheel Miles out, and like Julie comes and like gets in with him, like first you don't know, like where is she?
Yeah.
Like, and
I'm
this is
not
kind of the
leaving
big-
without her.
Right? Is this going to be the moment where Julie screws him? Maybe,
Right, takes the
but
money.
but no, like she obviously comes out and gets in, and the moment you're getting ready to say
No.
okay, when she gets in and she like tries to like kiss him,
Yeah.
and then the
Ambulance.
the guy pulls
Yeah.
it back. You better not.
The paramedic.
Yeah, it's so in the theater died laughing
Oh, really?
at that moment because it's so awkward and weird.
Yeah.
Like it was. I'm telling you, it
And
was.
she-
yeah.
Kisses him another 30 seconds later.
Right, yeah, but
he
it's just
doesn't
somebody's
interrupt
like,
that
you
time.
better not, and like pulls her back. Like
Why?
it's so awkward and out of nowhere that and then, like the arm
Yeah.
comes under the frame just out of nowhere. So yeah, I died laughing again, partly because I remember that.
Right.
You remember that moment, but just it is an awkward moment.
Yeah. I guess what I was going to say earlier about Julie and Miles' relationship here is like, I do hate in movies when like the girl falls in love with the guy in the end for absolutely no reason. Like he's never done anything good to her ever. Like never, ever done anything nice to her. She has no reason to like him.
Sure. I mean, I think she's always kind of liked him, and I think it all goes back to the idea that she always knew something was up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like even when you were talking about like what would you do with all that money? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I do think that she did have that idea about him through the majority of the movie that something was going on. Now, she definitely didn't appreciate their own personal cat and mouse game that they had
Right.
going. So, but I do think when she realized what was going on, I think she kind of understood maybe like his erratic behavior.
Yeah, I guess
So
it
maybe give her
explains away
that.
some of that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe like that, and I mean, again, he did make that grand gesture of like, "Do you wanna
Yeah.
go away with me?" Like,
And she has low standards. She really, I mean, no offense, but she didn't mind being the manager's affair side piece. Like
Right.
she didn't. So
she really has low self.
she's like, hey, I'm not, yeah. She's like, I'm not even your side piece. I'm your whole piece. I'll take it.
Right.
So
At least with you, I'm your whole piece.
exactly. And I think she should hold herself in higher regard, but that's her choice.
That's fair enough. But obviously, since she came, they're riding off into the sunset together. So you're right.
To a hospital bed,
Right.
but yes.
But going to your point though, and maybe this is kind of like lead into the question a little bit. Is he the bad guy though? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that the thing? Like, you got beef with him. You got beef.
Yeah.
She shouldn't be with him because he's a jerk.
He's a
Clearly,
bank
those were your
robber.
words. Your
Twice.
words.
Yeah.
Your words. He's a jerk.
Well,
No
I
reason.
can tell you my answer to that question is Harry's the bad guy. He's scary,
Sure.
but Miles is a bad guy.
Oh,
But Harry's
okay.
the bad guy.
Fair enough.
Because he would have killed you.
Levels of
and
bad
he
guy.
literally I cannot. Miles will screw you over. He might take your money, but he's not cutting your head off.
Fair enough. He does. Elliot Gould would not cut your head off.
No, Chris Plummer will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did. He
Yeah.
would, and he did. No, not you personally,
Yeah.
but a guy you know. A gal you know.
Gal.
You know. I think I can agree with you that it's he is a bit of a bad guy, but I think I'm gonna give him a slight pass because he is stealing from the man, which is the banking
Yeah.
industry, the capitalist industry of
Yeah.
banking. So I mean,
It is
like,
kind of,
you know what?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna give him that.
I give you
I'm
that
gonna
too.
give him
But
that.
I do think thematically it's a little messy there because it's like he is stealing from the man, but in this movie, like he is the man, and like Christopher Plummer is like more like
He is the man.
because I do think it's asking who are the real criminals, the banks or the criminals who rob the banks, kind of thing. You know what I
Sure.
mean? And like
Definitely.
you know,
little
and
Robin Hood. in
Elliot
there.
Gould is on the side of the banks in that scenario of those two themes. So
the man who works for the man is the man.
the man of a man is still a
Is
man.
the man.
Yeah.
Is the man. Neosis.
Yeah.
But
I've never heard of it.
it's yourself lucky because it's hell. But yeah, no, I like I said, I think Elliot Gould is the Miles character. I rooted for him, for
Yeah.
the majority of the movie, and you're kind of going through that, from that loser in the beginning that you saw,
Yeah.
kind of to the more confident guy in the end who's like, I'm gonna get the girl, I'm gonna do this, like I'm gonna take my life into my own hands and make it better. Obviously I'm not condoning robbing banks, so don't rob a bank and then tell everybody Car
But
Ray
I've
Rob
changed.
told you to do
I've
it.
changed now. I'm confident.
Don't tell everybody Car Ray Rob told you to do it, because we didn't. But in this particular one narrow scenario,
Worked for him.
Elliot Gould, yes, it works in The Silent Partner, and it worked for me. This is, like I said, it's a great little noir. I think it's super fun. I know it was pretty actually well received at the time. Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars, and he called it a thriller that is not only intelligently and well acted and very scary, but also has the most audaciously clockwork plot I've seen in a long time, and described it as worthy of Hitchcock.
I agree with that.
And Elliot Gould, actually, speaking of, claimed that he screened the film for Alfred Hitchcock and claimed that he loved it. But, I mean, I don't know if Alfred Hitchcock ever confirmed that, and that's a hell of a boast.
Elliot wouldn't lie about that.
You don't think so?
No.
I mean, he robbed a bank.
That's true. But he didn't cut anybody's head off.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we have. Are we at the time?
Yeah.
Are we at the moment?
We're there.
We're there. We're at the moment where the question, I think, has been answered. Ray said, "Give him the chair for robbing a bank," because Ray is the man. And I said, "Let him go," because I think we're robbing a bank, robbing the man.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yep. Stick it to the man.
But the real question is, Did you like this movie, and would you recommend it to somebody else?
Again, I feel like it's really hard to keep our opinions on these subtle, but you can't hide it when you talk about a movie like this. No. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought the plot was amazingly fun and engaging.
Yeah.
I was hooked from the get-go. I'm like, this is a take I don't feel like I've seen before. I don't really feel like I've watched this happen in a movie before. Like the way the bank teller turned the robbery on the robber was great. It was absolutely great. And then I think the movie follows up. Like it doesn't just end there at Act 1 with a really cool Act 1, and the movie doesn't follow up. There's the twists and turns, the setups, the reveals, the head cutting. Is really great. It's super fun. It's definitely worth a check out. I highly recommend people go check this one out. That's fun.
Yeah, that is amazing. It's amazing. I had a feeling you would. I really thought you would. Like
I wasn't convinced.
That doesn't stop.
Yeah, I wasn't convinced that I was gonna like it.
Oh, well, that's good. No, that's good. I want you to go into it not being convinced because I want the movie to convince you. But yeah, this movie it hits the throttle and never lets up. You know, even when you kind of like you said you add like sometimes you take a risk when you add a character like mid movie like they did with Elaine where it's like this kind of like could like kind of wobble the movie off and it just make you kind of feel
and it's not a great weird, twist per se but it works but so works. I mean it works great because Elliot knew the whole time too.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the thing is it doesn't talk down to the audience in that way. It kind of like makes things
that's
obvious
actually something I really loved about the movie. Like I said, like I wasn't totally in the loop on what Elliot Gould's plan was.
Right.
Like with the lunchbox and like how he was stealing. So like, you know, I'm like, hey, this movie got one over on me. I like it. I like it. I'm with it.
That's why I lied to you.
Thank you.
Now I'm the bad guy.
All right. The real answer to the question is it's Christopher Plummer's not the bad guy. Elliot Gould's not the bad guy. It's Rob.
I'm the bad guy. All right, everybody. Before we do our obligatory wrap up for our episode of The Silent Partner, I got to know, Ray, what have you been watching?
Well, I actually watched this movie on Netflix called Incoming.
Yeah,
okay. It's not rated it's not getting great reviews, but I thought it was really funny. It was like it's kind of a mixture of like, you know, Superbad and Good Boys. Good Boys was like the middle school version of Superbad,
right.
And this is more like ninth graders going to their first like high school party, like their first week of high school.
Well, you know, I love Superbad, so
it's of that vein. So I think that maybe I had.
It's like
got some of those vibes.
It's the nerdy group of kids that make you wish that your nerdy group of kid friends in real life were as cool as they are pretending to be in the movie.
Yeah, so I don't know why I liked it so much, but I'm like, I dug this.
I get it. I like those movies.
Caitlin Olsen's in it. I know you love her. She's really funny.
Obviously.
Mason Thames. I think he's in the new How to Train Your Dragon. I think he's the main character, but he was in this too. Okay. I thought it was funny. I think it's worth a check out if you're kind of just bored one night.
I would do that. It was a double feature with that and Superbad.
And Good Boys in order. Like you can see your kids grow up. You Good Boys in Incoming, then Superbad. Like their progression into madness as they go through the school system.
For sure.
But then I also binged It's in the Game, the making of Madden football.
That does not surprise
documentary
me. That does not surprise me.
Grew up on playing Madden, so
I had
to watch it. So it was interesting. It was pretty good. You know, just kind of get to see some of that behind the scenes stuff. Gonna get to see some behind the scenes stuff about John Madden. It was pretty cool.
Okay.
What about you? What you been watching?
Not a lot with the holiday and everything, you know. But the first thing I watched was Twisters.
Oh.
Because that is currently on Peacock for anybody interested. Yeah, Twisters. So I was, obviously when they announced this movie, I was super unsure. Yeah. I am a huge fan of Twister. And I am unashamed a huge fan of Twister.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. And, you know, having a movie come along this far after, which is kind of a sequel, kind of not, and it was very weird. So I was, okay, I don't know, we'll see. And so I went into it.
Hope it's not a cash grab type deal.
Definitely. But it got pretty decent reviews. Yeah, so I was like, okay, so I'm gonna check it out. And it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. I like Glenn Powell.
Me too.
You know, he's kind of...
He's a hit man.
He's becoming that, you know.
Hitman.
Exactly. Well, there you go. He's a hit man making hits. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. That yes, I get the joke now. But yes, he was great in Hitman, and I think this kind of continues his ascent, if you will. Yeah. Like I like the character he's playing. One, because I think it changes a little bit throughout the movie from what you kind of feel like it is in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But Daisy Edgar Jones is also his co-star, and I thought she was really good. And Anthony Ramos is in it from In the
Yes.
Heights and Hamilton fame.
Really like Anthony Ramos.
Yeah, and he is great in this because, again, kind of a way to kind of take that main story and kind of flip it on its head a little bit.
Kind of felt like they had, when you look from the trailers, that they were using some similar archetypes of characters.
Definitely, yeah. And I mean, because it takes place
the
in
original.
Oklahoma, so it's hard to kind of get away from that just in general, in the storm chasing community. But I think, I'm not saying it says anything new per se. I'm not going to go to that because I do think if there was a criticism I had, it was like this was an opportunity to talk a bit about climate change, and they just didn't. They kind of like grazed along the surface. Like, why are all these new tornadoes happening?
Right.
I don't know.
No reason.
Right. So I think that was if I had a criticism, it would be that. But then next, over this past weekend, over the holiday weekend, took the family to see Wicked.
Oh,
Yeah,
Wicked.
that happened. I did see the stage play about 15 years ago.
I've not
in
seen
Austin.
the movie yet. I haven't seen the stage play. Haven't read the book.
Well, I just recently read the book. So,
okay.
and that, so I was thinking, okay, well, I hadn't seen the stage show in like over a decade, but, the movie's coming out. I'm going to read the book because my wife's read the book. She loved the book. She read the book before I think she even saw the stage play way back in the day. So I finally decided to pick it up and read it. And man, I love the book. And I'm not sure if I should have read it before I watched the movie because I feel like I was spending the whole time going, man, I really enjoy the book better.
Right.
Now, so there's
Wicked's
some
been great
caveats.
reviews.
Well, right, and there's some caveats to this. Number one, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are phenomenal.
Great.
Like, absolutely phenomenal. They were as good as I remembered, like, from the stage production. Like, they totally embody that and more. And I was a little on the fence about Ariana Grande. Just was kind of like, okay, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, it hasn't acted much.
Right. Well, and especially like, I know she's obviously a singer, so it's just like, but this getting Broadway is something completely different, and I just wasn't sure how that would go. But she knocked it out of the park, absolutely phenomenal. And Cynthia Erivo was just, again, fantastic.
She always is.
And I think, when I was watching the movie, the production design is great.
Mhm.
I think the book is fine. I think really the first half, because this is just the part one, I think it's like you really kind of gravitated to those two songs that everybody knows, Popular and Defying Gravity.
Right.
So I think, I think those are obviously the standout numbers of the first half. But I kept thinking to myself, this, it just kind of shows what Broadway, when you take something, like it's like a book, bring it to Broadway, it like brings out the best and the worst of it, because it's like the best of it is like, the musical element of it, which is what becomes iconic and becomes the thing that, everybody knows, they want to sing along with, they really get behind it. But the worst of it is that they have to distill it down and like to something that's more palatable, and I think really kind of take out, and I'm going to use the word dangerous elements of the book, and then in the best ways.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the book is really kind of like the book of the revolution. Like, it is a really subversive book that is really politically driven, and there's some really interesting stuff in it that I feel like, you're bringing it to Broadway, and you're like, well, it's Broadway,
Right.
It's sparkly and shiny. And I'm not saying that those all elements are gone of that in the stage play, because they are still there. They are just in very limited forms compared to what you get out of the book.
And you probably also have to make this like have a feel for the original, like to the original Wizard of Oz too. Like don't they have to sync up a little bit? Don't you think?
Yeah, sure, you can give it to that. Which is so funny because this is kind of like twice removed from the 3 times removed from like the source material, because it's like you got the original Wizard of Oz, and then you have the book Wicked, and then it's the Broadwayification of the book, and then this is the Hollywoodification of the Broadwayification of the book.
Right.
So
that's a long ways away.
It's a long ways away, so you got to give them some credit. But like I said, there's a lot of great things to love about it. I am going to watch it again. I think I might appreciate it more a second time. Like I said, it's hard sometimes to shake that I just read the book thing out of your head and like kind of and when a book gets you going the way that this one kind of does, you're like, okay, well, I'm not getting that same feeling from this. And
I'm going to check it out, and I haven't watched it.
You should, because you have grown to love musicals lately.
I have. I've the Lin-Manuel Miranda has kind of got me into them.
Yeah, this is not Hamilton though. Don't go in there expecting Hamilton.
I get that.
Because nothing's Hamilton.
Absolutely not. All right, Rob. Well, I think this pretty much wraps up our conversation on The Silent Partner.
That's right.
It was great. We were not silent about this movie.
Nope. I'm very vocal.
Yeah. And I think what we need now from our listeners is for them to be vocal, for them not to be silent partners to this podcast. And the way they can do that is by liking the podcast, subscribing to the podcast, leave us a 5-star review if you can. If you do, we will read it live on air someday. And also email us at carrayrob@gmail.com. Ask them some questions. We'll talk to you and answer and probably cure the world's problems in the process.
I mean, that would be helpful. I was glad you didn't list rob a bank in there, because for a moment
No.
I was worried that was what you were going to say.
I was close.
You were close. Okay,
I
fair
scratched it off on my notes.
enough. Well, if there is a comment section on whatever platform you are listening to this podcast on, by all means, leave us a comment as well. Let us know what you thought of The Silent Partner. Let us know if you've robbed a bank in the past, because the cops will be after you shortly thereafter.
We have to tell. We have a moral obligation.
Moral obligation to tell. Well, we wouldn't have to, because the comment section
True.
would be doing the telling. We will be back in 2 weeks.
Yes, we will.
With Ray's final episode of the year/season.
Yeah. Car Ray Rubs. Say hello to my little film. Last episode of season one.
Ray's got to send us off with a bang. We will see if he has the chops to do it. And then we will have a special year-end episode
Yes, we will.
coming your way, and we will talk more about that later. But you're not going to want to miss either one of those.
They'll be able to be fun.
Absolutely. But until then, this is Car Ray Rob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob. And remember, be defined by the films you love, not the ones you hate.
Hey there, it'll be just a little while till Ray and Rob spit their spittle. Come on, check out of the hospital. So grab some of your best peanut brittle. This will be a darn good transmittal. And say hello to my little film.
All right, guys, got a little stinger action for you. On our next episode, I'm presenting to Rob the 2017 Death of Stalin. Definitely think you guys should check it out before the episode. It's got Steve Buscemi, Simon Russell Beale, Jeffrey Tambor. It's really, really good. A really good parody of life following the death of Stalin. So I'm interested to see what Rob is going to think about this episode. So you guys check it out. Get a head start on him, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.